Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back. So I want to talk about Carol and whether or not she's going to be killing Alpha in this Sunday's episode. There's been a lot of theories out there, a lot of ideas that it was either going to be Aaron, Daryl, or Carol, or Michonne even, that let Negan out. And from there, it branches out into who's going to kill Alpha. And I think from there, really, it comes down to like two people. It's like Carol and Negan. And then on like a second tier just below it, I would say Lydia could be up there, maybe even Gamma or like Beta. Something crazy could happen there. I think that's very unlikely that Beta would do it. But I want to talk about Carol. This is someone that I originally thought was the one that let him out. But then over time, it just didn't make sense. And I always had the idea in my head that Carol would want to kill Alpha. Why would she ever get Negan to do it? Like, she wants to do it herself. And that's when I came across this article that actually got me thinking, what if Negan's goal right now isn't to kill Alpha, but to trap her so that Carol can do it? What if they're actually working together in that way? Now, I saw this on comicbook.com. They actually posted an article saying that The Walking Dead hints Carol broke Negan out of jail. And I read this just because I was kind of curious, like, did they actually hint at that? Was something that aired in episode 11, it is very possible that this was actually a hint, and it does make sense. When you consider the fact that maybe Negan's goal isn't to kill Alpha, but trap her so that Carol can. But we'll talk about that in this video. Before we jump in, I do have to warn you for spoilers, obviously, for episode 11 of The Walking Dead. And also, if you're new to the channel, make sure to be a subscriber if you want more Walking Dead content like this. I post reviews for every single episode, trailer breakdowns and news breakdowns and all that. And so if you want to get or hear my thoughts on all of that, just make sure to be a subscriber. Now, like I said, I'll leave a link down below to the actual article. I do recommend checking it out because they go through a pretty lengthy explanation on why Carol was the one that let Negan out. I don't want to focus too much on that in this video. If you want to hear more thoughts on that, I suggest checking out the article. In this one here, I just want to talk about the proof that does suggest that and maybe what could happen in episode 12. Now, what they do suggest in the article is that, like, this shot here of Carol looking at Glenn or Glenn's portrait, this could be Carol looking at Glenn and she's sort of thinking about, like, I let your killer out, or I let the person that killed you out so I can get revenge on someone. It is a very awkward shot. Like, Carol is just randomly standing there looking at Glenn. And of course, all of us are going to think, well, she knew Glenn, she's just looking at him. Maybe she misses Glenn and she's just kind of thinking about Glenn. It was like the doomsday thing. And that is still really possible. That could be what it is. But what if upon rewatch, that scene actually meant a lot more because Carol was the one that let Glenn's killer out and she's just feeling really bad about that. I mean, Carol is in a really bad place right now. She's very desperate too. Like, she wants to kill Alpha so bad. It's pretty crazy. Her letting Negan out to do that doesn't seem that ridiculous. Like, she would do something like that. Would Daryl do something like that? If I had to choose between Carol and Daryl, honestly, I would choose Carol. The only reason why for so long I've been leaning towards Daryl being the one to do it is because Carol would be the one that wants to kill Alpha, right? Because that's just the thing. Carol would want to kill Alpha herself. She really would not want Negan to do it. I've been saying this for how many months now? She would never want Negan to do that. And so that's what I started thinking. Well, what if Negan's goal isn't to kill Alpha, but to capture her, or I guess lure her into a trap for Carol? And then I started thinking a little bit more. It actually makes a lot more sense because, like I've been saying in my reviews for the last couple reviews or videos anyways, Negan has been alone with Alpha so many times and he still hasn't killed her. And I don't know what review it was in or what video it was in, but I even mentioned then, what is Negan waiting for? Like, he's had her alone so many times. He could just do it then and then everything is fine, right? But he's taking a very long time with this. I think he's actually been alone with her more than he's been with the Whisperers in general. He's always alone with Alpha, but he just refuses to do it. He's had a lot of weapons around her too. Like, he's just not killing her yet, which originally I was thinking maybe he's waiting for a certain opportunity. Maybe something with Lydia will go down where Alpha kills Lydia or something that causes him to get really pissed off and do it. I don't know. The thing is, that just makes no sense because we'll always say, why couldn't Negan do it earlier? He was alone with her so much. He just waited until the last moment, a really bad moment. But you know what makes way more sense? Is if Negan is actually trying to lure Alpha into a trap for Carol. That's why he's trying to get very close to her so they can actually work together. And it is very possible that this shot right here is Negan doing exactly that. Alpha is going into this shed or shack or whatever, and Negan is luring her there. The scene might not happen like right here because it is daytime. I would prefer it to happen at nighttime because it's creepier, scarier. I think it would be, emotionally, dramatically and stuff, I think it would be a lot better, but this could be roughly that, I think. It is a pretty popular idea out there. You know, a lot of people for like so long now have been wanting Carol to kill Alpha. And I've always entertained that idea, but I've always wanted Negan to be the one to do it. I've always wanted him to be the one to do it just because it happens in the comic, and it was just such a badass moment that I just found iconic in so many ways. You know, for Carol to do it, it's kind of, it does work. That's the thing. It does work. Like I would prefer Negan to do it, but on the show, it does work because of Carol's story. She has this desperate need to kill Alpha. Like, it is very severe. So it's possible that Carol does the exact same thing to Alpha. Now, that's where I start to think, you know, if they're going to do that with her, then she's going to be getting very dark for the next little while, because I mean, decapitating someone, that has to do something to your head. Like, I mean, that has to damage you in so many ways. You know, they definitely will be exploring, I think, or at least I would like them to, a very dark Carol that is suffering from that. I don't want them to go back to the same old Carol, like where she always went back and forth between killing, not killing, and all of that. I don't want them to do something like that, but Carol could just be way more dark in how she handles things, and she might be unrecognizable. She could just be very, very, I guess, maybe too far gone, right? She'll have a hard time coming back from that. I mean, Carol in the comic, she went a little crazy before her death, and I'm pretty sure she actually killed herself. I could be wrong about that. It happened so long ago in the comic, but it was something like that. I'm not saying that could happen to Carol on the show. I don't think it's actually going to happen to her on the show, but she could go through a very dark period here. I mean, imagine Carol actually walking up to Alexandria or the hilltop, Oceanside, whatever, with Alpha's head. That would shock people, you know, regardless if it's Carol or Negan. I think if Daryl saw Carol with Alpha's head and she just threw it on the ground, Daryl's going to be thinking, did you do that? He'll be very shocked, you know, and I think that would be probably one of the darkest and most gruesome moments for any of our main characters, because Rick, he ripped out Joe the Claimer's throat, and that was so graphic, and he was forced to do that, but he never cut someone's head off. He didn't do anything like that. If Carol actually does this, like, she's way farther than Rick. And so we're like, what, a few days out until the episode actually airs. What do I think overall on who it's going to be? I am kind of leaning on it being Carol. I do think overall, for sure, now anyways, because I saw that image, I think there's a very high chance that Carol was the one to let Negan out. I know there was that roadblock scene, but it's possible that Daryl just realized that Negan is with Carol and was just like, okay, he's sending us a message, but there could be nothing there. Unless all three of them worked it out. I don't think so, though. But there's a pretty good chance that Carol did let Negan out. As for who's going to be the one that actually kills Alpha, that really depends. It could be Carol, it could be Negan, it could be a combination of both. I mean, Alpha is going to feel so betrayed. That's one aspect to it that we're not really thinking of too much. When Alpha realizes that Negan set this all up, she is going to feel so betrayed, because that is such a... I feel like Alpha takes a lot of pride in her intelligence and I guess the way she's able to map out things. She's a really good problem solver. She can, you know, she has a lot of insight. And I feel like she takes a lot of pride in that. And the fact that Negan actually tricked her into this, she fell for something like this and resulted in her death. I mean, that's going to be a very painful death, especially if Lydia's involved and Lydia's okay with it happening, or, you know what I mean? That's going to be a very painful death for Alpha, but she is a villain, and that's the thing. When it comes to villains, you want them to go through stuff like that, because look what Alpha did last season. She killed and or was responsible for the deaths of 10 people. That was a very gruesome thing she did, and her death is probably going to be just as gruesome. Hilariously, it's still not going to be equal, though, because it's just her. It's just one death, whereas she killed 10 people. But yeah, but I want to hear what you guys are thinking about all of this. Who do you think is going to kill Alpha? And also, who do you think let out Negan? Because there's something going on here, and the reason why I'm starting to think that it could be Carol really is just because Negan and Carol haven't had a scene together yet. It is still pretty remarkable, but they haven't yet. I think Angela King has talked about this before, that they haven't yet, and we're going to get into some stuff like that, like they will have scenes together. She might have said that in like season 9, like, yeah, that could happen in the future, not really knowing that, you know, this storyline was going to happen. I have no idea. I'm actually not even like 100% sure that she said that, but I know there has been talk of, you know, Carol and Negan actually are finally having a scene together. Well, this could be it. This could be that epic moment, their first scene together, and it's Alpha's death scene. You know what I mean? These two working together, there could be a lot of chemistry there. Like, we haven't had those two together. Negan's only been reacting with Daryl, and they've always been fighting. And then the stuff with Michonne recently has gotten a little bit better, but Negan's mostly been reacting with, well, Whisperers recently, but besides that, it's always been Gabriel or Rick. So to start talking with Carol now, And then obviously with Daryl too, once he gets back to Alexandria, because I imagine, they'll probably get along a little bit more then. It's going to be weird to see what happens when Maggie returns, because she's going to have such issues with Negan being allowed out of his cell. How do they handle that? That's going to be really exciting. But again, post all your thoughts down below. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Make sure to be a subscriber if you want more Walking Dead content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.